And welcome now, it's Flightdeck, podcast dedicated to Montreal Alouettes football, presented by our good friends over at Royal Retros, where you don't need a time machine in order to get some sweet, sweet throwback merch. Head over to royalretros.com, use the code Flightdeck at checkout, and you will save 10% off your entire order. I'm Tim Capper. You can find me on X or Blue Sky at Repact. That's REPPACT.
And I'm Cliffy D. You can't see me. Oh, no, this isn't gonna work. Hold on. Okay, yes, that works. You can also find me and follow me on X and on Blue Sky over at Cliffy D.
You scared me there for a second. It would have been a very interesting show to do it with just talking to a background, but I guess it could have worked. You okay?
Well, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, that was not as painful as I expected. Pause.
Yes. And it's funny. We last bye week we didn't have a show for reasons. This time we're coming into the show. It will be the Alouettes' longest break they've ever had. It ties their longest break. It'll be 17 days before their next game, which happens to be, I'll say, the Thanksgiving Day Classic. And we always joke, and this is kind of a little bit of a peek behind the curtain here. For years, Cliff, you and I have joked, more or less me, saying there's no way in hell that we're gonna, reach. How can we do a show that's only 30 minutes or whatever? And it always ends up being longer than what we actually expect it to be. So that being said, I don't see how this show is going to go 30 minutes, and we'll go from there.
Use that
bye weeks are tough. Bye weeks are tough when we can't get anybody. When it's tough to get, we had some people lined up. Things happen. Things happen in broadcasting. So
some people want to take the bye week for themselves as well, and that's cool. I'm perfectly happy just to sit and chat some football with you, man. So I mean, let's not worry about it. I mean, what will be, and I mean, if nothing else, we've got a pretty exciting game that we just watched that we have to talk about. So I say let's do it, and if we talk for hours on end, we talk for hours on end, but we will not talk for hours on end.
No, we will not. No, we're not. If you happen to miss, by the way, Flightdeck Live, go back and watch it. You can either watch over on YouTube or you can listen to it over at www.alouettesflightdeck.ca. What I wanted to talk to you real quickly, because I know we went into it quite in length, is the reaction so far since we've had the show and we've had the game itself when it came to the reaction from the CFL Nation about the rules. Any changes from what you have said from last show? By the way, that is our last show. We do hope that you go back and listen to it in its entirety. From what we've seen from CFL Nation, there does seem to be a mix of positive and negative. And I happen to see the interview that was done by Justin Dunk with the U Sports president. Interesting. Seeing it now, since we've done the show and everything that's been announced, it's very interesting. And I've talked to a couple of people too within the media who really don't know where it's going to go when it comes to U Sport. Because obviously, I don't know if we would call it the end all be all if U Sport says no or if U Sport says yes with all the changes, and we know that the money that we speculated how much it would cost. It's like a 50-50 split on the people that I've talked to, Cliff, that think that U Sport says yes and U Sport says no, that they will not do the new rules. But thoughts? I don't know if you've seen anything since our show, any other interviews with anybody within the media on their perspectives, and if it's changed anything that you thought from our last show.
Well, I've seen a few different comments here and there, and it's really interesting to see just really how passionate CFL fans are about maintaining the status quo, which to me feels like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, is the CFL in such terrible shape that you have to change the rules in order to improve it, quote unquote,
Mhm.
or attract more of an audience. I mean, ultimately, yes, you do want to attract more of an audience. That should be your end goal. This idea that changing all the rules is going to draw in so many more viewers, it's not about that. I mean, in a roundabout way, it is, but it's not like people are looking at the CFL game. Again, if you want to watch it, you're going to watch it. If you don't want to watch it, you're not going to watch it. There's nothing. So certain people, there's nothing you can say, do, or what have you that is going to change how people's perception of the CFL is, and that's fine. If you don't like it, don't watch it. That's always been my perspective on it. Like when people
Mhm.
talk about how this is like amateur football or state fair football or any sort of other of these degrading things, I'm like, then don't watch it. Guess what? I don't like curling. I know that probably I should probably have my Canadian citizenship revoked because I don't like curling. But you know what? Guess what? I don't go on curling forums and bitch and complain about how curling sucks and I don't like it and it's stupid and blah 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 blah. I just don't watch it. So
Eh,
one thing I don't understand is people that don't like the CFL feel the need to comment about how they don't like the CFL. We don't care. Okay? You don't like it, don't watch it. Simple as that. I love the NFL. I love NCAA. I enjoy U Sports as well. And of course, I definitely love the CFL. I can appreciate football in all of its forms, but I will not say that the CFL is perfect by any stretch. The NFL is not perfect either. None of these things are perfect, but for what you get to see and watch and enjoy and consume, I think it's pretty great. However you want to watch football, that should be all that matters. Are you watching football? Are you enjoying what you're watching? That should be all that really matters at this point.
and it's funny you bring up curling. Is that curling in itself has had some major changes to improve the game itself, whether it be from if and please, if you don't know the game of curling, I apologize, but these are some references where the brooms themselves that they use now, they were complaining about certain fabrics that they're using, to obviously get more friction on the ice and be able to get the stones to curl more. They had a whole huge thing about that. They've made modifications too. So, and I get it. I mean, if anybody really remembers, one of the really big changes, I don't think if anybody remembers it or not, for the CFL when it comes to their rules, was them changing it from a 25-yard end zone to a 20-yard end zone, and that happened right before the 1986 season.
Hmm.
So there have been changes to the CFL game. But they've always been minor changes. I guess, like I said, I think 86 probably was the biggest big change in the for the game itself. And it's before the internet. The changes were made, and then from there. But
And your typical fan, I don't think, would be able to notice or differentiate between a 25-yard end zone and a 20-yard end zone. I mean, really, truly.
yeah, we've heard people complain and bitch. It's like, oh well, one of the main reasons is because Montreal has squared off end zones. I tell these fans, I want you to go look up a picture of Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton prior to the 1986 season. What will you see? Squared off end zones. So don't complain and bitch about something that is like, oh well, it's just all Montreal, blah 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 blah. Yeah, it's all Toronto, da 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 da. I am still a fan who I don't like the removal of the 10 yards, and that's the consensus that I've got from the people that I've talked to. They're okay with everything else. It's just that 10 yards that they're removing in between the 50s.
Yeah, and I think even I had said too. Like I'm pretty good with the vast majority of these changes. I would say mad about the losing the 10 yards, like going from 110 yards to a 100-yard field. A little disappointed because I guess maybe I am a little whimsical about the 55-yard line, but okay, is it really like is that really so bad? Like, I mean, I think about what Steve Daniel was actually on the Third Down Gamble podcast and was talking about a lot of as many of you may or may not be aware, he was one of the major consultants on these rule changes and what needs to be done. And he said a lot of his absolute like what do you call it, deal breakers where certain things like it's got to be 3 downs. You got to have defense lining up 1 yard off of the ball. You got to have the waggle. You got to have 12 players. Like the certain points that were just like you can't. And guess what? It's still there. Everything, as far as he was concerned, everything else was up for discussion and worth exploring whether you need to change these rules or not. And to me, that should be enough right there. I mean, Steve Daniel knows this game up and down, in and out, and again, he's been a valuable resource for not just us here at the Alouettes Flightdeck, but for many podcasts and media members throughout the league. So if Steve Daniel's okay with it, and was willing to put his name behind it, like, stand on business for this, then to me, it's worth exploring at least. I mean, is it going to be different? Is it going to be, so monumental, these changes? Some of them might seem that way, like especially the moving the goalposts and whatnot. But I still think a lot of these moves are definitely worth the time and effort to truly explore and see if you can make happen. But I think a lot of the consensus is trying to maintain what makes the CFL so unique and so interesting to a lot of people. And for a lot of them, the 55-yard line is a big deal. The 110-yard field is what makes it the CFL. I could dispute that. I'm of the opinion that shortening the end zones, that's fine. There, as you talked about, they did it before, and there was people weren't up in arms about it. Or at least I don't recall seeing anything about people being up in arms about it. Yeah. Mind you, this was like 40 plus years ago, but still. Moving the goalposts back, okay, that's going to take some getting used to, I'm sure, especially for the kickers. But I mean, you see it in the other leagues as well. And the NFL at once upon a time had their goalposts on the goal line, and they moved them back. Nobody died. No, nobody. I'm sure nobody down in the States, kicked a fuss over it. I mean, it'll take some getting used to, but I mean, if it helps improve scoring, if it helps do all the things that they're talking about, trying to open up the game and everything like that, it's worth exploring, folks. I mean, that's my take on it as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for all the photo ops of everybody in front of either the C or the 55 on all the fields coming up over the next 2 years. And yes, I joke, but I'll be one of them too. I'll be one of them too. You know what I mean? It's like it's history. It's history.
Or maybe with everything going on with youth sports and everything like that, depending on how they feel, maybe that really does become a true sticking point, and maybe they just don't do that part. Like maybe they change all the rules, but for whatever reason, leave the field at 110 yards. Who knows? I mean, that's the thing. Until we see these things actually in action, I mean, I think a lot of this is just sound and fury signifying nothing.
And as we saw last week when we were at Personal Molson, our seats are now going to basically be 10 yards into the end zone. I'm not happy about that. I'm right on the goal line. Then they're now going to be an extra 10 yards, depending on how they do the field. To be fair, they do it evenly, maybe only 5 yards deep. I don't know, but still, they're now end zone seats.
Or do we move our season seats?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, that is an option. I mean, if we're truly not happy, that's the beautiful thing, especially about not just the Alouettes, but with this league in general, with all 9 teams, is if you're not happy with your seats, there's tons of other ones. Maybe check those out. Maybe take in a game from where you think might be a better viewpoint and see how the other half live. We do that every year. We upgrade our seats for at least one game, usually the Thanksgiving Day game, to see what it'd be like to sit in this section or that section. And you know what, we've seen some pretty we got some pretty good views on it. We got to see how the other half lives, so to speak. So I mean, if you're not happy with if and when they do change the field and you're not happy with your seat, guess what, you're not married to them. As far as I'm concerned, it's a year by year contract, right? I mean, you're basically doing an option year every year when you think about it.
There's no prenup.
No prenup. You're not tied to it. You're not chained to your seats either, folks. I mean, the way I see it, if you're not happy with how it looks, then maybe you should look into changing your seats. And you know what? Your ticket rep, more than likely, will help you find a way to find a another way of seeing this game, and maybe seeing it in a way that better suits what you're looking for in your game day experience. So
Yeah.
I'm of the opinion, just let's see what happens. Let's see how the wind blows. Let's see if these changes really do come to fruition. Try them out, and like I said, like anything else, like back in the 80s when they shortened from 25 to 20 the end zones. People just may not even realize it until after the fact, and then
Yeah.
it just becomes part of the environment.
I'm curious now that we've talked about it too, and I'll have to do this obviously later on. You brought up a good point or two about the NFL changing theirs. I think they did theirs in the 60s. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's either the 60s or 70s. But
Right.
it was, what was it, American football in general that changed? Was it college football and the NFL? Did the NFL dictate? And I really think that this whole U Sport thing will be a catalyst. I really do think so when it comes to what the final decision will be made for 2027, which, by the way, which I joked, is that for me, 2027 would be, with if these changes come about, it'll be my 30th year as a season ticket holder. Of all years to potentially change, but still. Yeah, and again, let's see what happens. It's there'll be news galore coming up. Not really any big news at all before we talk about the game itself versus Calgary. When it came to, and it's not really a big thing. It's a huge thing in Major League Baseball. It's a big thing. Not really a big thing in football, because usually that's done right before the draft. Basketball, it's usually done. It's kind of an afterthought, would you say, when it comes to the CFL trade deadline? I mean, for once, I mean, you rarely during the regular season do you see a trade. Rarely. It just so happens that Owls weren't involved in anything, but I think there was only one trade during the trade deadline this year.
Yeah, I mean, it was on Sunday before the trade deadline. The Ottawa Redblacks shipped Lorenzo Malden to Calgary in exchange for a draft pick, which I was a little surprised to see. I mean, it was a move that Calgary had to make because since they lost Falarin Morolati, I hope I said that right.
Oh, nice pronunciation. Thumbs up to you, buddy. Gold star.
All right. Since they lost Flo for the season, they got to shore up that defensive line in a big way. And that was a pretty good way to do it. And a lot of people kind of looked at that move, though, as Ottawa basically waving the white flag. Like, right now, as it stands, they do have the worst record in the CFL, which ultimately means that they will have the first overall pick in the 2026 CFL draft. And a lot of people see this as, okay, they don't think they can do it. I mean, they are still mathematically alive in the playoff hunt, but man, they got their work cut out for them in a big, big way. And perhaps in some way, shape, or form, they're thinking, well, you know what? Maybe it's just not in the cards this year. Maybe, despite all the best efforts and everything, what are they, 4-10? And if they're lucky, they might squeak into the playoffs at 8-10, but so many things would have to fall into place for them in order to do so. Maybe they just don't feel confident that those things will fall into place. So you may as well. I think also too, Malden was a pending free agent as well. So it's almost like better to get something for him than let him walk in free agency.
Yeah.
In which case, then you know what? At that point, you may as well. If you truly think that your season's done and finished, then yeah, you may as well start. I don't want to say a fire sale necessarily, but especially with a player that's a pending free agent, get what you can. And a draft pick is better than nothing. Better than letting him walk in February to another team. At least this way you sort of control where he gets to go by trading him to a Western opponent as opposed to someone in the East. Could you imagine if the Alouettes went and swooped up and grabbed this guy? I mean, not that they need someone on their defensive line, but I mean, still the idea that a rival could be coming in and taking on this team right almost immediately. I mean, it's so yeah. I mean, that's essentially the only CFL trade action, which is so funny compared to, as you said, Major League Baseball or the NHL too. Like their deadline day as well. There's usually there's enough action for TSN to do a whole friggin' show on it, like an all-day show.
Yeah,
Exactly. mean, today was like a whole lot of nothing, though. Like literally nothing happened. I mean, so and that's you just never know when a trade's gonna pop up like that. Like let's face it, last year, let's not forget, we thought the Alouettes were good. We thought, okay, they're not, they got the best record in the CFL. They're not going to make any changes. They're not going to do anything crazy or anything like that. And what happened? They traded Joshua Antwi to the BC Lions for a draft pick. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And I get it. I understand why they did that. So they felt confident enough with two of their three-headed monsters that they could let Antwi go. And I don't think anyone thought that the Alouettes were giving up on the season by trading Antwi away, but still, moves do happen from every now and again. It's just that when you hear trade deadline, you're thinking, oh, maybe they can do that. But when basically every team is still mathematically alive and still has a good to okay chance of making the playoffs, you don't necessarily want to upset the apple cart. You don't want to do anything that could jeopardize your opportunity, however scant it may be, to make the playoffs. So a lot of teams are just willing to stand pat and just dance with the ones that brought them. So yeah,
No,
I guess it's would it be cool to see moves? Sure. I guess, if you're an agent of chaos, like I can be at times. I mean, I'm all for a little excitement like that, a little razzle dazzle, but yeah, I can see why a lot of teams, including the Alouettes, decided, you know what, we're good. We're gonna ride this until the wheels fall off, and come what may.
exactly. So what the Alouettes did today is they actually had had their like the Canadian do and stuff like that. The Alouettes did their first of two hospital visits. I saw some of the pictures on social media, and it's so cool. I think this is one of the things that was, when they first came back in '96. I think they wanted to make sure that they showed that they were going to be a part of the Montreal community landscape. And I think this has almost been a yearly tradition, as much as them visiting. I can't remember what mission do they
The
do
Welcome Hall
after
mission.
the game on Thanksgiving?
The Welcome Hall mission.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, well, it's almost it's almost set in stone that they would be doing that, and it's great to see. It's great to see. I said that it just so happens they have a bye week right before Thanksgiving, and again they're making their trip, I think, to Shum and to the Children's. I think they're doing the Children's either today or tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. But obviously it's great to be there and just you know have the kids look up to their hopefully their favorite team.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, being a kid in the hospital is tough all by itself, but to
Mhm.
have sports heroes come and spend a little bit of time with you and sign autographs and take pictures and help brighten your day a little bit. And I don't care whether you're a kid or a kid at heart. I think that's really cool. That's something that's going to help pick up just about anybody's spirits, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, much like the Canadians, and I'm sure other teams in the city do similar events like this as well. And I don't see any negative to it whatsoever. I mean, anything you can do to help, you know, break up the monotony and help put a smile on your face, help your fellow man too. I mean, that's what it should really be all about. As you talked about, it's being a part of this community and to make this a better place to live. Like I always like to say Montreal is the best city in the world, except for the traffic. But to see the Alouettes do that, I mean, that's especially too on the bye week. Technically, these guys could have taken time and gone back home if they wanted to, and
Mhm.
or just take a little vacay or do something to relax. But the fact that they're willing to come in on their day off, so to speak, and do something like this definitely speaks volumes to the character of this team and to this organization as a whole. So you love to see it. You absolutely, truly love to see it.
Now, by the way, I mean, yes, you talk about the traffic. It is a sort of a thing of contention. But you know what? If it wasn't for the traffic, we wouldn't have been able to, to have all these, all these families of orange cones. I mean, have you seen them, man? They're everywhere. They just have, they're able to get jobs. They just sit, they're able to direct traffic in a certain direction. I mean, they seem to be everywhere. And I know for sometimes, some of these orange cone families, they sit there for years, literal years, and just they just look at us. Sometimes they're orange, sometimes they're green. Little ones too. The little ones. I've seen the little ones in Calgary. They're just so cute. But you can't beat Montreal orange cone families. I mean, what can we say?
I think that's why the population of the city is so high. I think they're counting the orange cones as a result. There are times where I think there's no way there's 5 million people that live in Montreal, but maybe a lot of these people identify as traffic cones.
I know. I tell you. By the way, thanks for playing along. And not only that, by the way, this is one of the bye weeks too. We knew that Davis Alexander was staying in town because he was getting right and ready for the next two games. Because I mean, he's gonna be quarterbacking twice in 5 days. He was even on local radio too, and that's usually in a bye week. The Alouettes are radio silent, literally radio silent. But it's just great to say because I think he was on TSN 690. He was on I can't remember which French radio station. I think it was also on was on 98.5 Spa also. I think this week the French broadcaster for Alouettes football. It's a nice change. Rather than just nothing. I know that the coach's show wasn't on this week for TSN 690, but that obviously, but still, able to go on, talk about him coming back, what it took for him to come back and stuff like that. And it all culminated, obviously, with the game this past week with the Calgary Stampeders, where coming into the game itself, as they said, despite him coming in 8-0, at that point, tying for the hottest start and longest consecutive win streak for a quarterback to start a career, it was just more than that. This was the guy starting for the Alouettes for the first time since July, and seeing what happened when he came back too early, I think it was just a matter of wanting to see what Davis could do and how he could do it. And with all honesty, Cliff, it's funny to say, it was nice to see Davis after 9 weeks, but it's also nice to see the Davis Alexander we know and what he was like after 9 weeks and how he just played versus the Calgary Stampeders.
Yeah, and he was back like he never left, and that's exactly what you wanted. That's what Alouettes Nation wanted. They wanted to know that Davis was coming back, and he was going to be the same Davis Alexander that blew the doors off of everybody. Not just in 2024 when he took it over for Cody Fajardo when he was injured, but to start 2025, and he was all that and more. I mean, my goodness, what a performance! And I can't say enough good things about this guy. I mean, clearly he wants this bad enough. He's showing that he wants it bad enough. Not just playing quarterback, being a starting quarterback in this league, but also being a leader. And it blows my mind just how much different this team looks when he is under center versus McLeod Bethel Thompson or James Morgan. I mean, and not to disparage what those two have done this year, but this team just it's such a different vibe when Davis is the quarterback. And you saw it right there and then against Calgary, which is arguably one of the better teams in this league. They too are in a bit of a dogfight, if you will, in the West, position wise and such. And Vernon Adams, who, has the distinct honor of being able to help young Davis, become the quarterback that he is. I mean, he took him under his wing back in 2022 and showed him what it took to be a starter in this league. And as far as I'm concerned, Vernon did one hell of a job in nurturing and schooling this young man, Davis Alexander, because what a performance. I mean, just doing things that were just like plays that shouldn't have happened as a result. Yeah. And there is no way in hell, and again, not to disparage, but there's no way in hell that MBT could have done what Davis did this past Friday. There's no way that James Morgan could have done what he did this past Friday. We don't get to see enough of him, unfortunately, but I don't think Shea Patterson could have done what Davis did this past Friday. I mean, it is ridiculous just how poised, how in control, and the playmaking ability that Davis Alexander has is, as far as I'm concerned, second to none. It is just, it's almost not fair. It's almost not fair to the other teams in this league. They don't have a Davis Alexander because maybe you wouldn't be wanting to change the rules because this guy is the system. Like you can't call him a system quarterback because he is the system. It is truly remarkable. And to see it this past Friday, and just we've seen this guy now for 4 years, 4 seasons, I should say. The fact that our jaws are still on the floor with some of the stuff that he pulls off is remarkable and a testament to just how good of a football player this guy really truly is. And in case we'd forgotten about it, in case Alouettes Nation forgot just how good Davis Alexander was, you saw it full force this past Friday. I mean, just everything he did. I mean, everything he touched basically turned to gold. It was incredible. He was not perfect by any stretch, but my goodness,
No.
he made very few mistakes and just he looked truly like a superstar.
Yeah. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you, and this has kind of been a talk from some on the internet. And as I said on Flight Deck Live, it was kind of like an afterthought. But by the way, if you missed Flight Deck Live, go ahead and watch the post game show. Some have said people on the internet. I'll say I hate it when some say people on the internet have said that not Davis's 9-0 start for his career isn't all that impressive because he didn't do it in consecutive weeks. Now, to be fair, I have not gone back and seen if the ones that he overtook did the exact same thing. I don't know. I don't know if Bo Levi did it. I don't know if Danny McManus did. I don't know. I'd have to go and check. But what do you say to those who say, well, it's not 9 consecutive games. It's not, it's not a real 9-0 start.
Well, I'm pretty sure if Davis didn't ask to be injured, I think if you had truly given him the opportunity to have 9 consecutive starts, and let's not forget that streak started back in 2024 when he made his first start. Let's not forget, Cody Fajardo was QB1 in 2024.
Thank you.
And we even stated, as impressive and outstanding as Davis was in 2024, we'd said it back then. This is still Cody Fajardo's team. When he's back and he's healthy, he should be back under center. And Davis is just going to have to wait for his next opportunity. And it got to the point where just those 4 games where Davis played basically forced Danny Machoch's hand, basically forced him to choose. Okay, you either keep me or I leave because I can't be holding the clipboard anymore. And Daddy agreed. And he said, okay, you're my man. You're my guy. I found you. I plucked you out of nowhere. I nurtured you. I helped you become the star. I gave you every opportunity to become the star that you are. And if that means you got to trade a Grey Cup winner and Grey Cup MVP, then so be it. And that's how Cody Fajardo ended up in Edmonton. And as a result, this became Davis's team. And he was given every opportunity to succeed, which, again, for those first 3 games of the year before he got hurt, he did exactly that. I mean, there should be, without a shadow of a doubt, of just what Davis Alexander is capable of doing. And to suggest that streak isn't as impressive because it was broken up because of, as I just listed, any number of reasons, man, go sit down. That's the only thing I got to say. Go sit down. You clearly know nothing of what you're talking about. And I'm going to be very polite here in this. Like, I mean, I'm sorry. Just let's see you do it. Let's see you do it. How about that? How about this random internet dipshit? You go and be a starting quarterback in this league and rattle off 9 wins. And let's see how easy you think it is, jackass.
You were very controlled there. I was wondering where you were going to go with that.
Listen, I'm all for a good discussion. And
yeah.
Like, is Davis
for all
perfect?
We know, Danny Mac did not do his in 9 and 8 straight. We don't. Again, I'd have to ask stats guru Steve Daniel, which I will do, because it's basically, if that is the case, and you know what, if you want to be a troll, be a troll. You know what I mean? And by the way, and it's not a hometown troll, by the way. It's from from another team. I think it's Hamilton.
Of course. Good.
If that's the case, that none of those quarterbacks did it in consecutive games, it's like, shut your mouth and sit down. You know what I mean?
You know not of what you speak. So, like, that's the beauty of the internet. It exposes just how dumb you are. I mean, that really is what it comes down to. And I look at a comment like that and like, I don't have time for this
because I've seen it
nonsense.
more than once, and it's like, come on, do your, you know what?
You know, and
Quit blathering and blah blah blah.
you know, it's funny because people were more up in arms about Davis's reaction to Nathan Rourke's comments about the CFL rule changes. People were more pissed off at him about that, I feel, than the validity of his 9-0 career start. But
I'm gonna go with a clickbaity title too. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go clickbaity title on that one because I really didn't find anything wrong with Davis's comments.
No, they're not. I mean, it's again, people just love to be triggered. I guess people love to get their backs up on something, and yet they'll be the first people to talk about when someone presents a viewpoint that's different than theirs, they'll call them a snowflake or a woke or this, that, and the other. Like, man, can't we all just get along? Like that's what I want to know. Can't we all just get along here? Like this is so silly,
right.
so silly.
Let's all get together, go sing Kumbaya by the 55-yard line.
Yeah.
While
have a
we
Molson
can,
and a smile.
while we can,
or have a Coke and a smile.
There you go. Oh man, yes. I can't. Mean Joe. Sorry, I had to. So with Davis's 9-0, and one thing we didn't mention either at Flightdeck Live is 350 yards that he passed for. It was a career high. It was a career high. So he's done it twice. He's had his first. He's now had his first 300-yard games. Now has another career high. And like I had mentioned before, despite the only one touchdown, it was very misleading, I think, in how good he actually was. We talked about Shea Patterson and his hat trick of rushing touchdowns, but all those were set up by what Davis was able to do. And, but besides that the first one to Charleston Rambo was an absolute beaut.
Oh, just dropped it in a bucket. I mean, it was just, and the minute the ball left his hands, you knew like that was going to be money. It was just incredible. And for Charleston Rambo, right place at the right time, like, wow. And just, again, this is what I talked about earlier. It's like just absolute jaw-dropping plays out of nowhere. Like we're still, beside ourselves watching this kid play football. It is incredible. Just, and as you talked about, like the plays that set up Shea Patterson's 3 goal line plunges. I mean, it's sensational. And there's a few times too where these plays shouldn't have worked. Like he literally made chicken salad out of chicken crap. I mean, that's remarkable. I mean, like you're sitting there going, how is this happening? How is he doing this? And it just comes down to the simple fact that it's Davis Alexander, big play DA. That's what he does. Alexander the Great, whatever you want to call him. I mean, that's what Davis Alexander does. That's what Alouettes fans have been missing for the vast majority of the season. I mean, it's just like, it makes me laugh. Like, I mean, we were talking about like most outstanding player, the Alouettes nominee. I joked earlier in the year, like during that slump that the Alouettes went through, is that this just solidifies that Davis Alexander should be the Alouettes nominee for most outstanding player, because look how this team is playing without him. I mean, that's proof alone just how outstanding he is. And this past Friday was just another reminder that, yeah, this kid is very much the definition of outstanding, because that's exactly what he did. Like just taking, plays that should have been blown dead or busted right off the bat, and he just somehow, some way, if he didn't just move the chains, he put the Alouettes basically in scoring position.
Yeah,
the perfect opportunity for Shea Patterson to just fall forward and score a tutty. I mean, again, I'm trying not to harp on this, but MBT couldn't do that to any great degree. James Morgan couldn't do that to any great degree. It really, truly took number 10 to make these plays appear out of nowhere and just make offense appear out of nowhere and just do absolutely sensational things. And you saw it all this past Friday.
And you're talking about, the broken plays. That one broken play, I think that everybody remembers most, besides the one for VA. That play by VA, by the way, was the play where Davis dropped the ball back and while backtracking, picked the ball up, was able to roll out and basically throw a dime to Tyson Philpott. I mean, had the the wits in him to know where his wide receivers were, because I think he had mentioned it was on one of the post game interviews that he had that it was supposed to go. I think it was supposed to go to Snead, if I remember correctly, but because of that, he had to roll out, and he made something of it, and it set them up again for potential points because everything went almost perfect. But as you said, the main thing is he made it out of this game with just a sore hammy. It made sense because he said it. He said it openly. By the way, says this is no secret, and it was sore, and that's why he was going to do still some rehabbing and stuff like that during this next bye week.
Mm-hmm.
But still, again, it set up everything. It set up everything. I mean, Davis, as I said, threw for 350 yards, 26 of 36. And these are the guys that backed him up. Tyler Snead, 115 yards receiving on 8 receptions, now within 20 yards of 1,000. And by the way, we didn't bring this up on Flightdeck Live, and I want to bring it up now. Before beginning of this year, when we saw that Davis was going to be the starter, you and I mused that it's very possible that we could have anywhere between 3 and 4 wide receivers have 1,000-yard seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what we know now and what we've gone through so far, what the team has gone through, just having one on the verge of getting 1,000 to me is mind blowing. And it's funny to say, we're expecting 4. Now having 1, I don't know if any of the others will get any closer because Mac's been hurt. Tyson was hurt. I mean, I'd have to see where Cole's speaker is. Rambo's been up and down all the season. What's your thought on that? Now knowing that, yes, we are going to have 1,000-yard receiver. It's not really who we expected it to be, but we should have 1,000-yard receiver come the next game on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I remember saying, to everybody at the start of the season, don't be surprised with the way this offense is set up. Don't be surprised if the Alouettes do have at least 4 1,000-yard receivers. And I think if everybody had stayed healthy, and you said it, starting with DA, but also, Tyson Philpott lost several games this year due to injury. Austin Mack also lost a few games to injury this year. I mean, Charleston Rambo, as you said, he played just about every game, but hot and cold at times. The one true Cole Speaker too. He's had his moments, but he too hasn't exactly been lighting it up. And for whatever reason, maybe the other quarterbacks just couldn't connect with him, which is bizarre to think about because Davis was able to connect with him this past Friday with no reservations. But
yeah,
it be like that sometimes. The fact that Tyler Snead, Cahoon 3.0, as I like to call him, the fact that he's been the most consistent receiver and be able to rack up close to 1,000 yards is nothing short of incredible. Yeah, in a perfect world, all these guys would have been healthy, and if they were, I truly I believed it then, and hindsight's always 20/20, but if all these people had stayed healthy, I could truly see all those names that we just mentioned, and maybe some more, either at or close to 1,000 yards themselves. And it really does come down to who you have at the controls. And again, had Davis Alexander not missed at least half of the games this year, if not more, due to injury, who knows what could have been. I mean, maybe the Alouettes would have been only having like 1 or 2 losses as opposed to 7,
Yeah. And
But
looking at with the help of, by the way, of Tyson Philpott's huge game in Saskatchewan, he's within 302 yards of 1,000. So it is possible. It is possible the Alouettes could end up with 2. At most, in my opinion, it would be 2 at most this season.
Yeah, but again, you can't control injuries, unfortunately. And maybe that's the caveat I should have said at the start of the year. Maybe I even did say it. I'm like, barring something catastrophic, which, by the way, Davis Alexander going down to injury and missing half of the season, I would qualify that as catastrophic. Tyson Philpott missing the number of games that he did, that was catastrophic. I mean, you don't go through a 5-game losing streak for nothing. I mean, it doesn't just happen. I mean, just like a winning streak doesn't just happen out of nowhere. I mean,
Yeah.
Whether you want it or don't want it, it's going to happen. I mean, that's just the way the cookie crumbled this year for the Montreal Alouettes. But the fact that Tyler Snead is this close to 1,000-yard season, and you just said Philpott. I mean, like when he is playing, he does put up gaudy numbers, and we could very well see him join Snead in the 1,000-yard club this season. And okay, if that happens, that's fantastic. That means the Alouettes are scoring touchdowns. That means Davis Alexander is racking up the yards. I mean, it's getting this offense going. And that was the big problem during this 5-game losing streak, was that this offense was practically non-existent. And now with Davis Alexander back behind the controls, and I go back to what I talked about earlier, the way this team acts as with Davis as their quarterback versus anybody else is night and day. And it's you struggle to understand why it's like that, but that's the way it is. I mean, this team just simply responds better with Davis Alexander as QB1. And as long as he is, this Alouettes team not only has a chance to win, but they have a chance to put up stupid numbers as well. And there's no doubt in my mind, as long as Davis stays healthy and the rest of the receiving core stays healthy, they may not all hit 1,000 yards this year, but they can definitely still do some damage with the 3 games that are left. Especially you got 2 games against Ottawa, who right now are pretty well on the outside looking in. And you got Winnipeg, who, again, this Alouettes team knows very, very well. And no doubt in my mind, Davis Alexander is chomping at the bit to play this Winnipeg Blue Bomber team, who right now I feel kind of parallel the Alouettes a little bit. Like when they've got their stars, they're practically unbeatable. When they don't, they look so iffy. And I think the game in a couple of weeks in Winnipeg is going to be a very, very interesting one for both quarterbacks, for both teams. And just, to me, that's going to be a fun way to see how this season ends.
Yeah, for sure. Also, Cole Speaker had 81 yards on 4 receptions. You had Tyson Philpott 76 yards on 6 receptions. Rambo 53 on 3. And it's funny, Mac was quiet, but it was very important. I think some of the catches that he had were important. So only 17 yards on 4 catches. Stevie Scott had 1 for 8. That to be right now seems to be the Achilles heel, so to speak, is the running game. Obviously, it has been it's been a change so far this year by the Alouettes not bringing back Walter Fletcher. And I think we do have a new superstar in Travis Tice coming up. I really think that, but obviously with him being hurt currently. Stevie Scott, I think, as I mentioned on Flight Deck Live, he got started late, but he started slow, got going in the second half, and he ended up having a good game. 55 yards on 12 attempts. Shea Patterson ended up with 20, by the way, with those 3 touchdowns. And I think though the one play for us, Cliff, was one of the early in the first quarter. It was that Davis Alexander 8-yard scamper. We were like, please, 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 please.
Yeah, and you felt everybody, all 22,000 plus at Percival Wilson Stadium, collectively hold their breath because, God,
because the last time he ran, he pulled his hammy
again. Yeah,
again,
and that's the last thing you want. And it's funny. We always talk about that mental block that players coming back from injury have to sort of get over, in the sense that, okay, if you hurt your hamstring, for example, you got to see how your running is. You hurt your arm as a quarterback. You got to start throwing the ball and see if you can, connect on those deep passes and whatnot. See if you got it back, or whatever the injury may be. Once you get that first hit, once you get that first, real test of that injury, and you get up and you're like, okay, I'm good. All right, I'm back. I'm good. And I think that's what it was for Davis in that sense, is that just really have to see how you feel. And you're going to have to take some lumps. You're going to have to, absorb a hit or two. And boy, did he ever absorb a hit.
Yeah.
In this game, like Bailey Devine Scott just came in like a house, like a runaway train, basically, and just barreled through DA, and unfortunately made contact with his helmet, which led to roughing the passer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had to laugh though, because I forget who it was. Talked about it sets a bad precedent, that kind of penalty, because it's all you're going to do is just teach quarterbacks to turtle or duck when someone's coming at you and hope that you get that helmet to helmet contact. I don't think that's what it was. I think it just,
I don't either. Yeah, because I know they had an issue on halftime. I think it was Milt Stegall actually had an issue with it at halftime on the TSN panel, if I remember correctly. I know one of
well,
them did.
well, a lot of these old heads, as like as they say, these former players that wish they could have gotten calls like that back in the day. I get it, but I don't think it sets a precedent, though. I don't think quarterbacks are immediately going to start turtling, because we've seen quarterbacks do that in the past. Hell, Anthony Calvillo was
I knew you were going to break that up.
he. I love the guy, I really do, but man, there is some times like, oh, dude, like, okay, I get it. Nobody wants to take a full on hit, but at the same time, you get that reputation that it's kind of hard to shake. So I think a lot of people are
Yeah.
just worried that are people going to start thinking about that about Davis Alexander? I'm like, nah, but he's not going to do anything stupid either. He's not going to try to prove his manhood by oh yeah, come at me and take the full brunt of it. Especially too, just coming off of an injury. I mean, you expect him to be a little bit gun shy, and he really wasn't. That's the thing. Like it didn't
No.
look like he was
No.
hesitant or about anything. He didn't look like he was nervous about what could come of his hamstring. He was just like, the hell with it, man. I haven't done this in months now, literally months. I'm just going to go out there and sling it, grip it and rip it, and see what happens. And look what happened. He turned in arguably one of the best performances at quarterback since his time here in Montreal.
And we spoke to him post game too. And dude is so humble. We brought up everything from the record to everything else, and to the hamstring injury. And I know he told us some stuff in confidence and stuff like that. And we were like, and it's like, I think was it that it wasn't a reminder from you, but it was a kind of a nod to him to that. I think we kind of reminded him that again, he was another one of our day one guys
Mm.
that we knew what he could do. And I think he acknowledged that in a way. I remember the conversation, but I know it was basically to that point. And he
Yeah.
said again, all the things that I've heard so far with him talking about the record, he's humble. He's so humble. And even going back now, he even says he should not have come back early like he did in the Toronto game. He should not have come back.
Yeah.
But that was then that it,
It was
first major injury of his career. We know that hamstring injuries can be very serious.
Mhm.
It could be a career ender. Sorry, it could be a year ender. It could be just a couple games. So, but still, I think it just goes to show, especially with the long line that there was of fans lining up to take a picture with DA and to, just to give him his accolades. Just the way that he was able to talk with us, and just even for the couple of minutes that we were there. I think it just goes to show the type of guy that it has. And I think Alouettes Nation is honestly very lucky to have him as our quarterback.
Without question. You're absolutely right. As awesome as he is on the field, he's 10 times better off the field. I mean, just especially once you get to know him. And that was the thing too. Like we saw him back in the day, like back day one. When we go back, like we knew there was something special about him. We really did. It wasn't just a matter of who's this guy coming out of nowhere. It's just a simple matter of he showed up and he was just blowing the doors off of you right away. Like literally first day of training camp in 2022, he was doing mind-blowing stuff. And like, wow, cannot wait to see what this guy gets. When this guy gets a chance to play, I cannot wait to see what he does. And remember, Tim, we waited a long time for him to get the nod, to get the chance to really, truly showcase what he can do. And when he did not disappoint. If anything, everybody else was wondering, who the hell is this guy? Where did he come from? Is like they were just but we knew what this guy was able to do. He just needed the opportunity, and he got the opportunity, and he was simply not going to let it go. And now everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows who Davis Alexander is. They know what he's capable of doing. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. he will be the reason why this team keeps winning Grey Cups. As long as he's behind center, as long as he's healthy, this Alouettes team is so dangerous. And I'm so thankful that we've gotten the opportunity to, be in his corner from day one, to support him, show him, hey, you keep doing amazing things like this, we're going to tell everybody about it. And to be able to have that relationship with him is something I truly cherish, truly treasure. And I want nothing but the best for Davis Alexander. He deserves it. He's shown that he's willing to work for it. He's willing to win your trust. He's going to do everything he can to show that he is who he says he is. And that's so rare and refreshing nowadays. Like, he doesn't expect everything to be given to him on a silver platter. No, he's going to go out and he's going to take it. That's the difference. He's willing to bust his ass to do whatever it takes to be the best that he can be. And you see it each and every time he steps on the field. And Alouettes fans, if you can't appreciate what he's able to do for this team, for this organization, for this city even, then I don't know what to tell you at this point.
Yeah, let me just go ahead and at least remind everybody, we have a couple more minutes here in our 30-minute show. Hey, Tim's wrong again.
When
We're
will
on
you
social
learn?
media. I know. We're on social media. You can find us anywhere. Any of the podcast aggregates, you can find the audio version of this podcast, or you can head over to the full archive over at www.alouettesflightdeck.ca. We are on X or Blue Sky over at Alouettes FL Deck, Facebook over at Alouettes Flight Deck Pod, and Instagram and YouTube over at Alouettes Flight Deck. Speaking of YouTube, make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure you hit the bell, and make sure you put in your notifications to find out when we go live, because then you'll be able to see when a new show is available, whether that be the full broadcast version of the podcast or the audio version, and our post-game show, Flight Deck Live, where Cliff and I are live, win, lose, or draw after every Alouettes game. Sometimes we're on the field at Percival Molson, sometimes we're on the field or elsewhere at another stadium, or whether we are at our home offices themselves or the home studios. So again, make sure that you do follow us over there at Alouettes Flight Deck over on YouTube. You're looking for some merch? And by the way, because we do have the upcoming meet and greet on Thanksgiving, our annual one. Close, you might get it. It might be a little bit tough actually with the postal strike, but still try anyways. Head over to flightdeckgear.ca. Try to get some of the merch of the If You Know You Know merchandise, Cartoon Bird 56, the Little Big Mac shirt, logo merch, whatever it is. Head over there and rip the pod. Also, finally, our presenting sponsor, Royal Retros, where if you go to royalretros.com and use the code FlightDeck at checkout, you will save 10% off your entire order. We've seen that over the last two games that our special teams guru, Jose Maltos Diaz, has been a little yippy. What are your thoughts on this? Because as I said, I think the last two games, it's been his quote unquote worst. It's funny to say worst that he's been all year, where he's had two games where he's missed, two field goals, but he seemed to has gotten better throughout how the game goes. Do you think Alouettes Nation has anything to worry about when it comes to Jose?
No, I don't. If he was pulling a Brett Lothar and just bricking field goal attempts left, right, and center like he has been, then be worried. I think Jose just had a bad day at the office this past Friday. It happens. I mean, that's the hard part of being a kicker, I think, is people expect perfection, because in a lot of people's minds, kickers are not people. They're not real football players. They're brought in to do a very specific job, and if you don't do it, then you're trash, which is unfair as far as I'm concerned. It is not so easy. Again, same principle. If it was easy, everybody would do it, right? And yeah, is it concerning? A little bit, especially because we're going into a very important time of the year, and you want everybody firing on all cylinders, especially since Davis Alexander's come back and now the offense is back on track. This defense, by and large, has been on point for the entire year. To see Jose Maltos, flub an easy kick, or at least easy, what should be easy to him, because let's not forget, he's been draining some 50-plus yard field goals with ease, and even with a little bit of leg to spare. So the minute he can't seem to hit a 30-plus yard field goal attempt, you're wondering, WTF? What this isn't Jose Maltos Diaz that we know. He would never do that.
When the upright is involved.
Yeah, well, the doink will get you one way or another, I guess. But
which has been most of the year. Most of his misses have been by doink. So
exactly, and I mean, if you want to get technical, he did hit the field goal, just not the way you expect it to. But
yeah, he Buffalo.
But I digress. I'm not too worried about Jose, and let's not forget, he's been money for the vast majority of the year. I think he's among the top field goal makers in the Canadian Football League. I mean, right up there with guys like Mark Leggio and Sergio Castillo. I mean, these guys, they have bad games too. It doesn't happen very often, but sometimes you miss one. It happens. I mean, I'm definitely not hitting panic button. I'm not thinking, oh, we need to get another kicker or anything like that. Like that shouldn't even come into the thought of Alouettes Nation at all. It's just bad day at the office for Jose, and there's no question in my mind that he'll bounce back, rubber band, and he'll be good to go for the rest of the season. Could just be a minor thing, could just be any number of things. But am I worried about him? No. I think he's earned the right to he's earned the benefit of the doubt when it comes to that. I mean, again, you look at Brett Lothar. I mean, the only reason he's not playing this weekend against Ottawa is because he's out with a sore back. Although I wonder, considering how he's been hot and cold, mostly cold, makes me wonder if his bad back is the same as MBT's bad elbow. And I'm using air quotes in case you folks are listening. So, by the way, did you not notice MBT on the sidelines this past Friday with a lot of bandaging on his elbow? I mean, I can appreciate the theatrics of things at times, but to me, it's like, okay, well, he's actually listed as the backup quarterback. Like, if God forbid Davis went down to injury, I believe it would have been MBT getting back out there. Would he get out there with that big ass bandage on his elbow?
Well, it was nice. I mean, remember what we've known for it's like the revelation we found out about Cody last year and his ribs. This is something that the team has already admitted. I mean, he had some elbow issues for most of the season, and he was standing, as I mentioned on Flightdeck Live. He had ice on his elbow the entire game. Maybe it's bone spurs. Maybe it. Who knows? Then
that begs the question: why is he dressing? Why isn't Cameron Dukes being given that opportunity?
No, I get that, but it goes to my what I mentioned. I think on Flightdeck Live also is that basically it's that, and as we've seen, MBT is the best option. They pulled him off the 3 games early because they had to. He was the best option, and then he went off in Saskatchewan. And then he went off. But I think that may be the case at the moment. Maybe it would be somebody else if it were worse. Obviously Cameron is not active or hasn't been. It wasn't last week. Shea Patterson, again, I don't know what's going to happen going in the future. We don't know what's going to happen in 2026. Because in my opinion, I don't think MBT will be back, but that's for another conversation. But I don't think he'll be back.
Unless they're trying to do with Cameron Dukes what they did with David Alexander, is they do see something in him. They do think he can be that guy, but he really does have to have everything down pat. Just like we thought Davis Alexander, he was ready to go. He could have done it. And imagine if they had rushed him out there and if he wasn't ready to go, it'd be a completely different story. I mean, we'd be in a completely different timeline altogether. Maybe that's the case with Cameron Dukes. I can't help but wonder if that is the long-term plan, if you will, when it comes to the quarterback room for Montreal, is DA's QB1 without any question.
Yeah.
Shea Patterson has proven himself time and again that he can handle the short yardage. He can be that guy. Maybe Cameron Dukes is going to end up becoming, QB2. Maybe he will end up being the guy in 2026 and possibly beyond. I mean,
You never know.
he's definitely younger. He's doesn't have nearly as many miles on him as MBT does. It may just be a simple matter of keeping him in the slow cooker, as we talked about what they did with Davis, is just let him marinate, let him, develop and, at his pace, and let him become fully ensconced with this offense, with his playbook, with everything. And then when the time comes, when they know that he's ready, he'll be given that opportunity.
And you knew it was him, by the way. If anybody was on our side of the stadium watching the Alouettes bench, you knew it was him because he was the man with the flow. Man, what a set of locks he has, man. You knew it was him right away.
Without question. I mean, shades of Jonathan Crompton back in 2014.
Oh, yeah.
That was a flow to be jealous of. And Cameron Duke's just like Crompton 2.0, I guess.
Yeah. Real quickly too, I want to at least say a little bit about the defense before we finish up. But I want another question that we didn't really talk about. Well, we talked about it a little bit, but now that we have a little more information, what was your thought on Tyson Philpott doing returns, doing kickoff returns for the first time, Cliff, since the Grey Cup year of 2023, and his first punt returns since 2022?
Interesting. I know Tyler Snead's been handling those duties as well, in replacement of James Letcher,
which he did this week too. He did also, yeah.
Yeah, and my first thought is, do they not have confidence in? Is it Eno Benjamin, who's the technically the backup running back to Stevie Scott now?
Yeah,
I mean, ideally, you want someone that you can trust back there, and that makes total sense because we saw what happened when Charleston Rambo tried to return a kick, and that did not. I mean, that had disaster written all over it. I'm sorry to say. I mean, thankfully he recovered, but in Toronto, but it was to the point. It's like, okay, well, we tried that, and that we're not doing that again. And perhaps it's just that familiarity that Snead and Philpott are able to do the job, but at the same time, those are arguably your two top receivers on this team, and God forbid they get hurt on a bloody special teams play. Not ideal. So if James Letcher isn't ready to go, I hate to use the term sacrifice, but I mean, really, you should be having someone back there who can do the job, but not someone who's of the stature of a Tyson Philpott or Tyler Snead. So I'm hoping with this bye week that if it's Eno Benjamin or maybe somebody else that could return kicks, make sure they got it down, make sure that they understand the importance of it.
Right.
Because, I mean, going into this playoff stretch, I mean, again, it all depends on how long Letcher is out for. Hopefully not.
I was about to comment. We did speak to Letcher, at least I spoke to Letch at post game, and it seems to be it was just he's expecting to be back for Ottawa, because I think he said it was something that popped up right before practice that they wanted to be careful about. Maybe it had to do with maybe for him it was a hand. God, it's been all year. If that was the case, we don't know. But when I spoke with Letch post game, that's what it seemed like. That he said he's fine. But mind you, we've heard that before. So we'll see once practice starts. We still got another week, and we still got another week plus before they have. What we're expecting their first practice to be, if it's scheduled the way that it normally is, will be a week from this Thursday. Will be their first practice. So we'll see.
So this could be all much ado about nothing, but at the same time, kickoff and punt returns are an integral part of this football game. And if Letch is ready to go, then all bets are off. But ideally, though, you should have a backup plan that doesn't involve arguably your top two receivers. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I get it. But the plus thing is, as we saw, Tyson was able to step in for Letch in the Grey Cup when he got hurt.
Yeah.
And so we know Tyson can return. So I understand what you're saying, but I would rather have a guy who is who's had experience. So I'll leave it at that. But as you said, it may be nothing. It may be nothing. Something to do about nothing once practice comes about next week. So
yeah, and I get it. It's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know, but it's still the idea that it's your top two receivers that are doing someone else's job, and a job that opens yourself up to all kinds of potential disasters. So that's
Yeah.
my concern as
No,
a
I get it.
as an observer. So
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. Last thing, defense. With the 2 sacks this week out of the 4 that the Alouettes had versus the Stampeders. By the way, which they did win 38-20. I haven't even mentioned that one, by the way. Um, Isaac Ademi Berglund is now second. Is still second in the league's sack race. Matthew Betts is at 13 because I think he had 4. He either had 3 or 4 this past week, but Isaac is now still second, still career high of 11, still within the race. And if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, there's never been a 1-2 finish from 2 Canadians in the CFL sack race. So that's still cool nonetheless. Bev is back at 6, but still, he got another one this week too, and the other one was by Lawal Ugalak on the rip Verdon's head off and come away with a helmet.
don't forget
Still,
Mustafa Johnson as well.
Yep. Did Mustafa have one this week too? Because is that 4?
He had a sack. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You are
Poor Verdon.
correct, sir.
Poor VA.
No, he did. No, he did not this week. No, it's Lawal, 2 for Isaac, and 1 for Tyrese. It was the week prior for Mustafa Johnson.
I stand corrected.
Yep.
Although Mustafa was getting in Vernon's grill a little bit, so I mean, you can definitely see that. Again, making VA's night a little tougher than maybe he would have liked.
Yeah, and another crazy interception by the defensive stuff this time by Tyrese Beverett. He wasn't going to let Wes Sutton get all the accolades from the last game to this one, so he had to show up himself. So the defense is stepping up, as we have talked about. Now it's showing that the Owls the defense doesn't seem to be as gassed because their offense is being able to stay on longer. Their second down conversion rate is growing exponentially. I mean, this is a team that through the beginning of the fourth quarter, Cliff, the second down conversion rate was at just about 75%, which is crazy. As you mentioned during Flightdeck Live, those are Madden numbers, and it's a giant cheat code. So again, it's so far so good. As I said, coming into the stretch now, I know we have another week to go before they have the Ottawa Red Blacks back to back. But the thing is that potentially this week, depending on the result with the Ottawa Red Blacks game, it's very possible that even though they are on a bye, the Alouettes could clinch a home playoff with a Red Blacks loss this week.
Yeah, essentially they'd be finishing no worse than second in the CFL East, which is tremendous. And they still have a chance to catch up, if not bypass Hamilton as well. A lot will depend on the next few games, of course. But I mean, that once again, we're seeing a team that truly is back like they never left. Like we're seeing that team that we saw at the start of the year that got everybody excited, that got everybody thinking it's Grey Cup or bust for the Montreal Alouettes. And I think if you were to ask them, they're still of that mentality. They're still of that mindset that, yeah, if we don't get to and win the Grey Cup, this was a lost season. And simply put, it's that mentality you have to have. You have to believe that you can be the best team in the league and that you truly are, and maybe you're just uncrowned. Because everybody's looking at Saskatchewan. They're looking at Hamilton. They're looking at Calgary even as the best team in the league. And they're looking at Montreal. I was like, are they for real? Are they who they say they are? And I know it's just one game, but again, it was a game against a very good Calgary team. Again, a team that very much is in a dogfight to establish themselves out in the West. And I won't say Montreal was dominant, but boy, they sure played with purpose. They sure played a very dominant looking game against the Calgary Stampeders. And again, I use the quote for John Wick of a lot of people ask me if I think I'm back. And yeah, now I'm thinking I'm back. And I think that's how Davis Alexander, the offense, the defense, I think that's how everybody on this Montreal Alouettes team feels is, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
Yeah, and by the way, you're talking about Hamilton currently right now. Yeah, the Alouettes are only 2 points behind to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Yes, they do not have the season series versus Hamilton, but if you look at the current schedule, it is very, very possible, depending on how the games go over the next couple of weeks, Hamilton does still have a single bye left this season. I think it's the week that we go to Ottawa. Very interesting. Anything can happen, and I'm liking to see this, despite the possibility that the West crossover will be guaranteed as of this week, depending on what the results are in the CFL. I'm fine with it because you know what? It's still exciting football.
It is, and go back to Hamilton really quick. I mean, I did not expect them to lose to Winnipeg 40-3.
Oh my God! Yeah.
So
and barely 3 points as it is, because that was a major doink. A rebound
pointed
off
in, yeah.
the goalpost, or I don't know, but yeah, that was an odd. Seeing that score was just mind blowing.
Yeah, and again, that's why like you can't really count anybody out, and nothing's guaranteed, and that's why you play the game. That's why you have to put your best foot forward each and every single time. Because yeah, right now Montreal, if the playoffs were to start tomorrow, yes, Hamilton would have the bye to the Eastern Final, and Montreal would host more than likely a crossover team. At this, I think if it was truly today, it would be BC.
Yes,
but that could change in the next couple of weeks. And if Montreal can find a way to leapfrog past Hamilton, anything is possible. I mean, we talked about how ideally in the CFL East, the move is to be second place, host the Eastern semifinal, go to the top dog in their house and beat them to go to the Grey Cup. That's how it was in 2022 for Toronto. That's how it was in 2023 for Montreal. That's how it was for Toronto in 2024. Can that pattern repeat itself yet again in 2025? Only time's going to tell, but I mean, there is something to be said for the history of that. So we'll see what happens. I mean, there's, like I said, we're almost at the end of the regular season. It's kind of depressing to think about, but
stop.
I know, but
I mean,
as you said,
we've already gotten our season ticket renewal, so we know it's that time of the year.
It is, but as you also just alluded to earlier, I mean, it's now getting even more exciting. Like every game counts. Like every game is a must win for all 9 teams. So all Montreal can do is just control what they can control. They've got the head-to-head or the back-to-back against Ottawa coming up, and then finishing off the season in Winnipeg. Anything is possible. Anything can happen. But this Alouettes team right now, the way they're built with Davis Alexander back at the helm, as far as I'm concerned, the sky truly is the limit for this team.
Exactly. As I said, there is no game this week. The Alouettes are on a bye. But you know, I said, so no Flightdeck Live this week. But you will be seeing us next week. If you want to visit it, just watch last week's. You know, wait for the weekend, watch us again. You know, why not? Or watch any of the past episodes of Flightdeck Live over on YouTube. Or if you just so happen to want the audio version, that is also available. And that's over at www.alouettesflightdeck.ca. So we will be back next week with another show. And I think it's funny. We really haven't been promoting this in any way, shape, or form, Cliff, but we are getting so close to 300. This is episode 292. And, you know, stay tuned. That's all I got to say. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we always try to do something special. We did something special for the 100th episode, for the 200th episode. No doubt in my mind, we're going to do something special for number 300. Will it happen this year, or do we have to wait till 2026? It all depends on the Alouettes, folks. It all depends on how long this Alouette season goes, because as long as they're playing, we're going to be talking about it. We're going to be hosting this show. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed. Again, if you love the show, tell a friend, tell a coworker, tell everybody about the Alouettes Flight Deck. And if for some reason you don't love the show, which I'm, you know, with each passing day, and I don't want to toot my own horn here, Tim, but I don't think anybody hates the Alouettes Flight Deck. But if you do, if you don't like what you're seeing, tell us. Let us know what we're doing wrong so we can make it right.
Exactly. So we will see you guys next week. We thank you for joining us and listening to us. So for the last time here, on the Alouettes Flight Deck, for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. We're on Final Approach.